What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Big Dog Podcast. I'm Josh Wilson. Got a buddy of mine, Luke Longmire. What's going on, Luke?
How we doing? How we doing?
We are good. Luke's down in sunny Miami while I'm sitting up here in sweaty ass Virginia.
Beautiful over here.
That's awesome. Look, guys, so I wanted to have Luke on the show. Luke and I met, gosh, I get late March, right? We were on the
Yeah,
Cabo
much.
trip together. So
Yep.
throw a couple random people on a jet to Mexico and you get to know each other for a few minutes, might
No
case
doubt.
that's final destination type stuff. But we had a great time, connected, hit it off, and Luke just has a incredible story. He's the automation king, everybody. I mean, this guy is just wicked smart, great connections. He's an educator of hundreds of thousands of people, speaks thousands, tens of thousands of times. I mean, the guy's just he's done a lot of really, really great stuff. And his story will motivate you. He's got stuff that you need to learn about if you don't know about. And so I'm hoping you'll share a little bit today. But man, Luke, just welcome to the Big Dog Podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I've been seeing you crush it as well, and I'm looking forward to this, and I appreciate you as well.
That's awesome, man. So look, tell us, let's go back a little bit. Who's Lucas Longmire?
Yeah, so that's a very broad answer, but I'll go back to 2015. When I was 15 years old. So this is probably 2006, 2005, give or take. And I share my story a lot just to inspire, motivate a lot of people, because a lot of people think you got to be super successful, MBA degree, or all these amazing accolades. But all you have to do is have a burning desire and go after your dreams. At 15 years old, I was really, really good at football. I saw myself playing Division I football, and football was life. All I knew was football. I was all conference. At one point, was getting a scholarship, and I hurt my shoulder. I shattered my shoulder, and my sophomore, going into my junior year, and I was out for my whole junior year. Had a surgery, and they actually thought it was cancer. At one
Oh,
point,
wow.
going to Riley Children's Hospital, Indianapolis, Indiana. It's a really big, cancer, leading the country. When it comes to that, and I was going from hospital, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. It was like a lump on my shoulder. Come to find out, I just broke my clavicle. And in doing so, I lost football. They put me on prescription medication, Vicodin, and I started getting addicted to the Vicodin because they kept prescribing it.
Oh, man.
And
Okay.
I went kind of like to a wrong path, because when football, I'm a very obsessive person. When a lot of people are that are successful, and just like you with your business. And in doing so, I had this big lane, unfulfilled. There's nothing there anymore because I lost football. So I
Right.
started, dealing drugs, and at a very high rate, bigger rate, if you will. Going into my senior year, freshman in college, I was making, 100K a year, 200K a year. And doing so, and next thing I know, my senior year, going back to that, is I was going to, commit, to a scholarship for football, and I had to have surgery again.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was crazy. And it was very scary for me because my shoulder regrew. I was going through a growth spurt, and my shoulder regrew wrong. So they had to, get into the bone, shave off the bone. And once again, like, this is life. Like, if without
Right.
football at that point, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was lost, confused, just, trying to find something. And where I found is, like, when I was in football, I was the jock, center of stage, the big man on campus, and I had that void there. Looking back, I see it now, but at the time I didn't really know. So when you're dealing, right, you're the big man. Everybody's coming to you. Hey, can I get some smoke? Blah blah blah. And I felt that void, filled. And next thing I know, they prescribed more Vicodin, and everything like that. And especially what's going on in this world now with all the fentanyl. If you guys have, anybody that's watching, seen, there's a big epidemic when it comes to prescription stuff. And next thing I know, I get addicted to Vicodin even more. And when I got out of college or got out of high school, I barely graduated high school. I don't even know how. Somehow I passed with a 2 point something. And I went to college, and I remember I was in business school. I viewed myself as a business person, hustling
Sure.
the streets. And I raised my hand my freshman year in business class. I said, Mr. Smith, I forget the name. I said, "Do you own a business?" He said, "No." I said, "Okay, cool." I was like, "Do you make 100,000 a year?" He said, "No." I was like, "Well, how am I going to learn how to run a business from you if I make more money than you and you've never ran a business?"
That's a fair question. I'm
Right?
sure you received it well.
Yeah, yeah. He kicked me out of the class. Um, and next thing I know, I was like, man, this isn't for me. College, there's a chapter in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, talk about specialized knowledge versus generalized knowledge. And I was like, this is not what I want to do. This isn't, anything, it's just not for me.
Right.
I dropped out of college, my freshman year, like a half a semester in, and my dealing, grew. So I was like, let me focus on this.
Okay.
And in doing so, I started making more money, but the law started catching up. And in doing so, still, popping pills here and there, started doing it more and more. And next thing I know, I got to a place where, I was, all by myself, a very lonely spot. I had money, but like I didn't really have friends, running around the wrong women, at the clubs, and everything like that. It was a very toxic life. And got in trouble. Well, I went to jail, a handful of times, got bailed out, weekend in jail, nothing crazy. But then I got in trouble. They found like a small sack of weed on me, and then secondly is I had a lot of money on me, so they tried to hit me with a big charge. In doing so, I got dropped to a misdemeanor, but they maxed me out, so I had to do a 6 months in jail.
Okay.
That was my first like exposure to real jail, like going into the drunk tank, the holding tank, weekend in jail, you're there by yourself. But now I'm in there with people that are like, I didn't consider myself a criminal, like I
Right.
sold, and whatnot. But
You're in
these
there
are
with the
people
real
that are,
criminals now,
yeah,
professional criminals.
yeah, exactly. And I'm in there with people that are, home invasions, A felonies, B felonies. I'm like, man, this isn't for me. And I'm in there jail for 6 months. I get out of jail and I'm on house arrest this time. And I'm like, I'm gonna be a smarter, hustler. I'm gonna do it, not get caught this time. You know what I mean? And I don't know, probably about 2 months later, I violate my probation. I get in trouble again, and I do another 6 months in jail. And the fourth day I was in there, there's a book. If you're watching this, listening to this, grab the book "Think and Grow Rich" by Napoleon Hill. And I forget chapter 9, if I'm not mistaken. It talks about decision. And I made a decision on that fourth day. I would never go back. I'll never hurt my mom, never hurt myself, and I would start fresh. But the cool thing is, diving deep here really quick and pulling it back is I had the burning desire. I had the
Yeah.
burning desire of time freedom and financial freedom. I just was doing it in a very illegal way. So when I got out of jail, part of my plea was to go to rehab. So I went to rehab for 6 months, and I lived in a halfway house for a year and a half.
Okay.
Um, no car, no license, no job, probation on 3 counties. I had to report to 3 different probation officers. It was definitely the lowest point in my life.
And you said the
Um,
halfway house was a year and a half.
yeah, yeah.
Is that normal for that long?
No, it's not. I kind of use it as a crutch because like it was right next to my job where the halfway house was. And
Okay.
I walked to Lowe's for a year, about a year and a half I had a job there. But I used it as a crutch to stack up money, and so forth, because
Yeah.
I didn't have
Yeah.
a car. I wanted to stay at the halfway house until all my probation stuff settled down and whatnot. It showed really good on the report, so to speak. Did the 90 days and 90 meetings, or 90 meetings in 90 days for AA, NA, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and I went through that whole thing, but it was such a learning experience. I'm so grateful for it. Because I learned so much. I got a better relationship with my higher power, God. Got a better relationship with my mom. got my first exposure to Think and Grow Rich, spiritual laws of success, and it was really cool, not at the time, but looking back, to kind of like, break me down, God, universe, whatever you choose to believe in, broke me down and humbled myself because I was egotistical,
Yeah.
just full of myself, and just really, really on a bad path. And next thing I know, right? Next thing I know, we get to a place where I can buy a car now, right? And in jail, um, you can't eat off 3 meals, right? You can't eat off 3 meals in jail. So,
Right.
um, you ever play spades?
Yep.
Okay, so I got really, really good at spades,
Okay.
and started
I
gambling
am
on
not. My wife is brilliant. I am not.
yeah. It's a really cool game. I started getting really good at it. Started betting meals and soups, which is ramen soups, and was eating a lot more. And in jail, like you have basically you have card games. You can talk to people, or you can read books or work out. So I found bodybuilding in the gym. This is putting like hundreds of books in a big, duffel bag and doing curls, doing
Right.
skull crushers, doing pull-ups on the bars. I mean, hundreds of push-ups, incline, decline. And I found love with working out, and speeding this up a little bit. Got out of rehab, got out of halfway house, got a car, was at Lowe's, got a job at a gym. I was like, man, I love working out. Why not work at a gym? And doing so, I got a job at the gym. I worked myself up to general manager. Now I was like, man, this is the life. I had it all figured out,
Right. Of
and I was
course.
making 6 figures a year. Um, and next thing I know, I was like, man, 4 years later, making, in my, back then a decent amount of money. But then I became time broke. I figured out that if you don't have your time, that's the most important thing. So I was making, quote unquote, good money at the time, but like I was either at work on my way home from work, thinking about work for the night before, and
Right.
everything like that. So my whole life revolved around my job. 4 years into it, I got a message on Facebook. And this is kind of really where I'm at today is I got a message on Facebook. And he's like, hey, bro, have you ever heard of Forex? And I was like, not a clue. And it was a network marketing company, very
Okay.
similar like Herbalife, Amway, et cetera. But it was a Forex network marketing company. And I was like, this looks like a Ponzi, a
Right.
scam, And I still had a little weird thinking. I was like, man, I could run up a bag really quick if it's legal. And hey, why not, right? It turned out to be very legal, and I became really good at it. And I was like, I'm already promoting and networking a gym, right?
Right.
Personal training, gym memberships, come to the gym, 7-day pass, workout. I was like, I could take the same hustling skills that I did in the streets, right? Never taking a day off, next client, same thing I learned at the gym, promoting, marketing, and just do it to this.
Sure.
And I did that. And I skyrocketed. My first month, I demoted myself, or second month, I demoted myself from general manager, 6 figures a year, to a regular sales associate. About 6 months later, demoted myself from a regular sales associate to part time. And then after a year, I retired myself from that first message. 2 years later, retired my wife. 3 years, moved out to California. Now I'm down here in Miami. Been able to create my own app, 250,000 students, spoken in 33 countries, over 200, 300 speaking engagements, all around the world. And now it's just like, now like I made all the money, the millions and whatnot, but now my passion is to help other people, teach true financial literacy. And
Yeah.
this is kind of like my purpose, if you will, is because the average person does not know how to manage money, let alone how to create money, how to attract money, how to put it to work. Most people have a job, a business, but they're a business operator, not a business owner. And the true wealth is passive income. So my mission now is financial literacy and wealth building, to really impact the masses. So that's a broad answer, to your question.
No, man, that's amazing. And I think that, so many people can relate in so many different ways to what you have going on and went through, because anybody who's listening to this, has those. I think all kids, most kids, right? You're coming up, it's like, this is what I'm going to be. This is
Mhm,
what I'm going to do. For you, it was football. For me, it was I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to be a lawyer, right? Yet I'm like the
mhm,
worst student on the planet. So why that made sense for me, I don't know. But you have these things that are what you're supposed to do, and inevitably, at some point, there's going to come a moment of failure.
mhm,
And maybe it's not like a complete failure, but there's going to become a moment of test, right? And it's like, is this actually the path you're supposed to be on? Or do you really want it? Or are you going to buckle and fold to something else? And,
100%.
I don't necessarily know that, like you're supposed to always not buckle and move through it. I think there's a lot to say to where no shit happened. The trajectory I had in place for my life completely changed. Instead of going to college and playing D1 ball, I end up dealing and going to prison, right? I'm
Mhm,
in jail now. I'm in a halfway house, people that I talked to and played against in school, played with or met at different camps. And man, I see them on TV playing while I'm out here working at Lowe's, walking to work for a year and doing all these different things. And there can be these parts in people's lives where it's like, what am I going to do with that?
mhm.
But that walk into Lowe's for a year had a very intentional purpose
Yes.
for your journey, right? For your path. And because it could have been easy to every time you get in trouble, you get out, go right back to it, get in trouble
Mhm.
again, go to jail for a little while, get out. I mean, this is the cycle. I mean, we all know people that literally is the cycle they'll do for the rest of their life,
Yep.
nonstop. But at a certain point, the decision was, hey, I always expected and wanted more for my life than this. What am I going to do to make it happen? Right?
100%.
And you have to choose. The path is fine. Okay, the path wasn't what I envisioned. No big deal. But now what am I going to do with these lessons that I've learned? Am I going to
Mhm.
keep repeating? Because I know exactly what I'm going to get if I keep repeating this.
Facts.
I know exactly what I'm going to get. So to your point where I thought it was great, and I hope everybody heard it, I took that same hustle, that same motivation, the same lessons, and I applied them from the street to the gym. And then I added some more lessons at the gym when I started picking up actual like marketing techniques and promotion.
Mhm.
And how do I take that energy and apply it to this new thing? And you're doing the same
100%.
thing anyway. You just figured out a way to scale it, right? And now look, because if you had stayed healthy and you'd gone on and played Division 1 ball and likely been done, after a couple years in college if you stayed
Yep.
healthy, because you're not going
Definitely
pro
not the
because that's
NFL.
that's so small. Now where are you at? How far are you behind on the mission that was actually your true path? You just couldn't see back then.
Exactly. And like God is always, I choose to believe in God and whatnot and higher power, whatever you want to call it. And it's just like looking back, I needed to go through everything to get to where I'm at today. A lot of
100%.
people are like, well, I'm sorry for you. It's hard, sorry to hear that. And it's like, no, no, no. Like I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah.
And it's just like that, like there's I always tell people this is like there are things I went through, I can't learn without the experience of it. You
Right.
know, you can't learn it through a book. You can't learn it through a mentor, a coach. You got to experience it to learn it, and then take what you learn and apply it to a different vehicle. So you're spot on.
Yeah. My producer Jonathan, who's in the studio over here, he's a rapper. He's so good. His lyrics are incredible. And the thing is, and I think about it with Jonathan, I think about it with other artists, you're not going to have that fire. You're not going to have the stories
Mhm.
to tell. And yeah, you gotta fire them up a little bit sometimes, make it a little better for the record. But it's like if you hadn't had these choices, these experiences in life, these failures, it you can't put that to paper. You
Mhm.
can't put that into a mic. You can't because you don't know it. It won't come off the same. When
Yep.
you're sharing what you do now with people, you're sharing from the point of view of what it's done in your life and for you.
Hmm.
And so it's not a hard sell. It's not a convincing. I'm just telling you what it's done in my life. And
Facts.
so this is something that potentially you can do, as well. This is how I'm sharing the opportunity with you,
Hmm.
but you wouldn't know about it had life not forced you to make different decisions than what you had planned. You got to get that
100%.
content from somewhere. So talk a little bit about, you know, I I think people have a hard time understanding that whole concept of automation and passive income.
Hmm.
Everyone thinks, well, if I'm going to make money, I've got to go to work and make it, and I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to clock in and clock out, and again, exchange of my time for someone to give me money. And I don't think people truly understand passive income. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, 100%. And, that's kind of my mission now, where I'm at today is you have basically four different quadrants, and the first quadrant is the employee quadrant, which is about 60 to 70% of people. And that goes back to, what we're taught in school. And that's why like my biggest mission is to teach financial literacy, and not to overthrow, not the quite word, but to change the whole educational system because we're taught what go to school, get good grades, right? Graduate high school, go to college, get good grades, get a degree, get in debt for all the college, right? And then now we get a certification that's basically worth nothing now. And then from there, get that job, work a job for 50, 40, 60, 70 years, whatever that number is. And then you get, your retirement check or, social security. And that's what people call a life, go
Yeah.
to job for 5 days a week, right? Now it's weekend. Saturday is like, woo, Saturday. Now Sunday comes along, it's like kind of woo, but then it's like, man, I got to go to work tomorrow, right? Get one vacation a year. That's not living, that's existing,
Yeah.
and that's how 70% of people live their life. They're not truly living. They don't know what's on the other end, what they can truly be. We're the highest form of beings. We're human beings, right? We're given, imagination that animals don't have. We're given perception, will, reasoning, and etc. So we're limiting ourselves, but that comes back to the whole educational system putting us down, right?
Right.
Indoctrinating, programming us to be an employee. That's part of what the elites and the big players do. Because the thing is, if we teach everybody to be a business owner, entrepreneur, who's going to be the employees,
Right. Yep.
right? So you have that quadrant, employee. Then you have the second quadrant where you're self-employed, right? And there are a lot of people, and this is kind of where I was at the gym. I was making all this money, but I was the job. If I didn't show up, I didn't make money.
Right.
I got to sell, I got to manage, I got to coach, and if I don't show up, that check doesn't come in. So now we become the job, and we're making decent amount of money, but we have no time freedom. So
Right.
that's a small percentage right there, about 10%, 10 15%. Is a self-employed, and then you have the quadrant where the business owner, where a lot of business owners, they're not really business owners because if they step away from the business, is the business going to continue to run? So they
Right.
fall into the business operator, right? It's their business, right? They're their baby, but they're in the trenches. They're doing the sales calls, they're doing the onboarding, the hiring, the firing. They're not delegating. That's a small percentage, that's like the 5%. Then you have the 1%, the investor quadrant, where your money is actually working for you. And this is what I really teach and coach people to get to is it's not bad to have a job. It's not not good to have a job, but it's not good to just have a job.
Right.
Work on that thing that you truly love. So trust me, you weren't sent here to life to have a life. Your purpose isn't to work at Kmart. You weren't sent here to work at a gas station or Toys R Us or whatever job it is, right? Use your job to fund and go after your entrepreneur career. Like, what is your passion? What motivates you to get up and just take over life? And
Right.
that's what we
Right.
want to do and create that passive income, right? Whether it's Forex automation, crypto automation, Airbnb rentals, something along the lines of assets creating cash flow. Now, where you create that cash flow, Now you can go focus, so you can quit your job, go focus on a nonprofit, go focus on helping kids, with dogs, with you, whatever it is. You got to find your passion, your passion income, your active income,
Right.
create that passive income. Because the thing is, if you if you never get passive income, you're going to be working until you die,
Right.
right? And that equals no time freedom to time with your kids. So my dad died when I was 5 years old. Never had a male role model, never had someone to teach me how to work on a car, how to shave, how to be a man, right? So my biggest thing is when the streets and my whole story that I shared is I wanted time freedom, financial freedom. So that's why I worked so hard, believe so much, and just put in the physical work, the spiritual work to get to time freedom, financial freedom. Because when I do have kids, which I don't yet with my wife, I want to be there at my son's baseball game.
Yeah.
I want to be there at my daughter's ballerina school. I want to be the coach or cheering on, go baby, go. I don't want to be like, oh, well, I can buy your school, take you to private school. I can buy all this stuff, but the kids want your time.
Right.
That's the most valuable thing. So I realized when I didn't have a dad, I want to give my future kids everything that I didn't have, you
Yep.
know? And I set up my life where I make, my active income is my lowest income. It's probably 10, 20% of my
Right.
whole, income, where my passive income, if I don't wake up tomorrow, my family is still getting paid, through automations, life insurance, bonds, everything. So it's very, very important to start small. If you don't have a lot of capital, find a mentor, find a coach, and kind of pivoting, but coming back to this, is a lot of people don't know where to start. And
Right.
that's cool, but don't just invest and lose your money. You want to find a coach, a mentor, a program, a mastermind, whatever that looks like. Invest in that, because that cuts the learning curve in half. How to master anything
100%.
is two things: find a coach, find a mentor, and repetition. That's how to get good at anything. So, it's crucial to get passive income. It's a necessity.
You talk about, finding that coach and how much that expedites your process. Right. And
Mhm.
people are like, well, I can't see investing in something like that, or I can't. And I'm like, man, you're
It makes
literally
sense.
paying for a cheat code. Like, do you remember? Like, I was never big into video games. That was never my thing, right? But I had a lot of friends who were, and I'd play
Mhm.
from time to time, and I'd be so pissed off because I'm trying to hack away, and they, up down, A B,
Exactly.
whatever. My head explodes. I'm done, and they just keep doing it over and over again. A couple of them would figure that stuff out, but then there was the other ones who just they would know somebody, they'd tell them the code, they'd use the cheat code, now they're dominant.
You
I
lose.
getting now I lose, right? So I'm done because no one's one sharing the cheat code with me. I don't know the nerd to talk to get the cheat code. And so I'm just in a spot. So I just don't like playing and I'm competitive. I don't want to do shit I'm
Gotcha.
not good at. Or if I can't get good at it, I'm out. I'm
I'm
done.
out. Peace.
You know, but the thing is, in business, step back. In life, if there's a place you're pretty set and very clear, emotionally and spiritually on what you see for your life and
Mhm.
that vision for your life. And there's someone who's living or representing a version of it that's pretty close.
Oh,
y-
100%.
Yeah, you might want to figure out how to spend some time with them. You might want to
Mhm.
figure out how you can add value to their life and maybe they're interested in adding value to yours. The
Mhm.
great thing is that with these coaches and stuff and like you do with your people with your coaching programs and Apex and Arte and there's so many great ones out there. It's okay, you worry about all right, well what value am I bringing? Yeah, that'll work itself out. Don't just reach out and be like, "Hey, can I holler at you for a minute? Can I pick your brain?"
Yeah.
Join their courses, join their
Mhm.
programs, invest. There's your access there. It's like, oh, well,
Yep.
that's so expensive or whatever. Man, do a low level something. See
Get
if
in the
that helps.
game.
What can you flip that into? And now it's like, okay, I'm in my second year of business, let's say, and by joining a by hiring a coach or joining a network, a group, man, you can be operating with year 10 knowledge and wisdom. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean year 10 business decisions are what you should be making and implementing those plays necessarily. But I guarantee you, you're going to go from year 2 to year 4, 6, 8, and 10 much quicker and in a much, better balanced way than the person you're paying to coach you on it,
Mhm.
because they went through the struggles.
Oh,
They
yeah.
went through the pains, and you can create all that bullshit yourself because that's guaranteed going to happen. Or someone can give you a blueprint. Hey, here's the map. You want to turn left here. Definitely don't go right. You go right at this
Exactly.
moment in business, you're done. And now you're wondering, like, oh man, that cost me $100,000 because of that bad business decision. But you didn't want to spend $20,000 a year on a coach that could have had you, that $100,000 loss could have been, 7-figure win. And they
Mhm.
just look at it so differently. And I know, for me, when I started getting in the room with folks like you, and Apex and stuff like that, it's just changed the whole game. It
Mhm.
changed everything. Because even some of us who, and I would say I was having some success, before getting in the room, but it was success based on a barometer of what I thought success looked
Exactly.
like, and then you like peel the curtain back, you're like, oh shit,
So much
I'm not
more.
I'm not there's so many levels to this. I'm not doing anything at
Yeah.
all, and so it's a big deal. Bring that coach in, get that wisdom, get that knowledge, and figure out how it applies to your business, figure out how it applies
Mhm.
to your life. There are no new problems. There are no new issues in business. There's your unique, circumstances around that problem,
Situation.
but it's all the same problems, right? We lost him.
Oh, we're here.
No, you're good. You're good. So, no new problems, just your unique circumstances around that problem that being with the right people can help you work through so it doesn't become catastrophic. It's got to be
Mhm.
minor, but you got to be willing to put yourself out there and invest.
100%.
So I think it's so interesting. You're managing the gym, you're working that job, you're trading your time for a paycheck.
Mhm.
You get a random message on Facebook, and this is what, 3, 4 years ago?
This is 2016.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're about 6 years ago now,
Yep.
and that person ends up being a mentor of yours?
Yeah, so he was in a network marketing company. That's when I got my first exposure to personal development.
Yeah,
Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, Tony
less.
Robbins,
Yeah,
yeah, all those people, and that really made that shift. And if I didn't go to jail, didn't go to all that, didn't develop, a passion for working out, wouldn't want to go work out in gym, and it just the transpiring events for sure.
that's so crazy. So what's next? What's the big thing you're working on now for you and your students? I mean, you teach so many people and share so much content and knowledge. What's the big thing for Luke Longmire now?
So now, like I said, it's more about the philanthropy and just helping the world. And my vision, and the viewers here, might sound kind of crazy or huge, but there's no such thing as big or small. It's just your perspective. But like where I see myself is creating the Harvard, the Yale of financial literacy. When it comes to your credit, how to make an LLC, how to create goals, how to find the belief to go after your goals and desires. And getting to the mentorship and getting back to your question is, 2019, I spent about 150,000 between my wife and I and mentorship from Bob Proctor. And it was the best hands down investment that I ever made. As I invested more in mentorship and coaching, I grew. My
Yeah.
income skyrocketed, and in doing so, with working with Bob, I found what my true passion is to create an educational center all around the world. So every state, have a financial literacy, wealth building, school for entrepreneurs, so they can come in here, figure out what they truly want. Because what I realize is getting out of 18, getting out of high school, is no one knows what they want. And I'm not against college, but I kind of am a little bit, like Gary
Sure.
Vee talks about.
Yeah.
Um, And nothing like super against college, but it teaches you, programs you to be employed, and that certification, that business, thing. My mom's still paying off her master's degree, or we're paying it off together or whatever, from 2000, or sorry, 1999.
Yeah.
And it's just a rat race, for lack of a better word, scam, and don't get me wrong, college can be good, but majority of the times it's just a death trap in financial debt. So what I want to create, what I'm going to create, is like, have you ever seen X-Men at the building?
Yeah.
Where you got Cyclops and Wolverine and everything like that. So a building similar to that, but each room is teaching health and wellness. One room's credit. One room is how to create funnels. One room is spiritual laws, what I teach. One room is like forex and crypto. Same thing with what I got. Maybe it's how to start a startup business. How
Yeah.
to leverage your credit. So each little category of an entrepreneur to go out there and live the life they truly desire and reshift and kind of pivot away from traditional education, learn your abcs, math, simple math. But when's the last
Yeah.
time you used I can't even pronounce it, the Pythagorean theorem, or
Bro,
acute
I
or
don't
two
even know.
single,
No clue.
right?
No clue.
Never.
Look,
So when learning
this
all,
is me. This is me doing math. Okay. That's
exactly, a calculator. I can do long division, or huge multiplication, and whatnot. You need to learn the basics, but there's a lot of
right.
stuff like, if you want to learn geometry, you're going to be engineer, go for it. But
Yep.
majority of people aren't going to be engineer.
Right.
Same thing with ICP. I think it was called integrated chemistry and physics. Like, I've never done anatomy in life. Like, why am I cutting up a frog?
Yeah.
Like, makes no sense. So like getting like to 16, 18 to show people that, an entrepreneur, how to start a YouTube channel, do e-commerce, find that vehicle for you to go out there and live
Yeah.
that life and then scale it, you know. And through these vehicles, it's to create an educational system that can really revolutionize. Imagine us with our knowledge at 10, 12 years old. You know what I'm saying? And then
Oh yeah.
next level, and then the next generation. So we can completely shift the human race to go out there and excel, instead of majority of people, 70-80% of people now is just they're drifters. They go to work,
Yep.
they come home from work, eat, and they do that cycle
But
over
for
and
those
over.
first 18, 22 years, every day's been telling you what to do. Go to school.
Mhm.
We're going to tell you some stuff. Go to school. We're going to tell you
Yep.
some more stuff. Go to school. Now, it's, those last 4 years or 5 years or 6 years, depending on what program that you're kind of sold on, thinking as an 18-year-old kid you're interested in doing,
Mhm.
you're taking on hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt that is gamed to crush you. It's game
Yeah.
to keep you in that system of clocking in and clocking out. And we were just so my phase with family is a little different than yours. My son is going into his senior year of high school. My daughter is going to be a sophomore. Um, my son has decided right now, hey, he's going to come work in our family business. He's actually started today. Actually started
Cool.
going through the certification process to become a dog trainer. He's been watching me do it for 8-9 years, and now he's going to go through our school. And he'll graduate next year. He's probably going to take. Oh well, he's not probably. He's going to take classes at the community college. So if he decides, man, working for dog sucks or working for dad sucks, I'm not trying to do this. He wants to go to school. He'll be able to transfer and he's not behind, right? But
Mhm.
it's the opportunity. And we were having Sunday supper last night and my nephews were over and friends and my mom and grandmother and the family's there obviously. And we were talking with our friends and I'm like, well, what's my nephew want to do? What's he want to be? Because he's looking at school and he plays basketball and he might have some opportunities to play basketball in college. And so there's all kinds of different opportunities out there.
Mhm.
And they're talking about these career interests. I'm like, who the hell at 17 years old wants to be a whatever? My son's girlfriend, she's talking about this job. I can't even say it like I'm gonna say it wrong. It's not a phlebotomist or something like a blood doctor. I don't know. I'm screwing it up. But I'm like, how the hell do you know at 17 years old that I want to do that? How do you
Mhm.
know I mean, since I was like 5, I was like, "I'm gonna be a lawyer." Why did I say I wanted to be a lawyer? Because in my mind, lawyers were the most elite, they made the most income, and it was, the best setup situation. Being a kid who comes from nothing, had nothing, knowing that I wanted something different, I'm like, "I'm gonna be a lawyer," because everything you see of lawyers, it is success,
Yeah,
right?
facts.
So I equated that with financial success. The reality is lawyers, they sell a whole lot of time for, at the end of the day, not a whole lot of money,
Yeah,
except
a
for
lot of
that
them are
top.
miserable.
Yeah, that top like 1% of that. So I'm sitting here thinking, man, how do these kids, are they supposed to know when you make this commitment to the track you're going to be on in school? And if you change your mind, now you got to add a year or two to school and another 50, 60, $70,000 of debt.
For
It was just,
nothing.
it was stressing me out because I'm like, I went that path and I'm training some dogs. I mean, nobody would have told me that's what I was going to do,
Yeah.
but it took life and experiences for me to figure out what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do, more
Mhm.
importantly. And I knew I'm a shit employee. I knew that. And so I knew I had to figure out, how to do something for myself. So I haven't had a lot of jobs as an employee. I did good the ones I was at. A couple of them I think I did great. But the back of my mind the entire time,
How do I get out of here?
how do I kind of run with my own thing and do that? But as a kid, because of what you're taught, unless you have the family with the knowledge and mindset to
Mhm.
be teaching that development and that financial development, my family didn't have that coming up. And so for the last couple of years, we've been trying to teach my kids, hey, these are things you need to
Exactly.
do. But I'm still learning. We were just on a call earlier today and you were sharing some strategies with me and we were talking about some things. I'm like, oh damn. Like, yeah, I'm way off the ball right now. There's some stuff I need to add to the toolbox.
No
And so you
doubt.
always have to be open to learning, but so many people, they how the system is set up, the education piece is set up, it doesn't allow for anything different.
Mhm.
Anything different has to be a scam. When you got that message on Facebook that day, your mind immediately went to, what kind of
Oh,
scam is this?
my wife, so I took it
Right?
home to my wife and I told her about it. She's like, "No, you're not doing that." I'm like, "Babe, but he said this could happen, this could happen." She's like, "Yeah, it's a scam." I'm like, I pulled the whole thing. Well, it's my $200 to join. It's my
Right.
money. I'm going to
Yeah.
do it. And just piggybacking off what you said about the school system is like you're programmed from 5 years old. They teach you what to think, not
Yep.
how to think.
Yeah.
And you're programmed for so long, it's called your neural pathways, and your neural pathways are thinking this for so long. To get over here to think a different way is going to take repetition and everything like
Yeah.
that. And it's just like, why not pay a mentor, 50K, 25K, wherever the number is, someone that has experience, that has proven results, that's doing it in real life, instead of going paying that college for,
Yeah.
theory.
Yep. Yeah. Expedite that process. And that's one thing we've told our kids. I'm like, look, you want to go to school? No problem. My daughter, I mean, she's 15. She could change her mind, whatever, but she is hell bent. No, I'm going to college. I'm going to
Mhm.
go and, I'm going to have fun and I want to have the experience. And, I'm trying to get her to become a veterinarian. I'm like, I need kind of need this angle into our business so we can cover everything. Nobody wants
Mhm.
to be a vet. And she jokes around about it, but I think she'll change her mind. But I'm like, maybe we should have a decent idea of getting some experiences first before committing to a path that you may not need. I'm all about it. To your point about engineers, teachers, doctors, lawyers. If it's a very specific path you're going down, you've got
Yep.
to do that, right? You've got to do that. I don't want you paying 50 grand and go and watch somebody do heart surgery for a couple months and now you're going to go do heart surgery. Nope. I need you to go through that 8, 12 year track so that
Facts.
when I fall out, I need you fixing me right. So, but it's got to be the options there. And I'm with you. I'm not against it. I just want to make sure we're preparing kids to have as much information as possible so that they can actually make the best decision that an 18-year-old kid can make at the time that you would expect an 18-year-old kid to make, not just have this pressure that
Do
society
this, do
has
this.
of you're not going to be successful if you do not go to college.
Mhm.
When I would push back and challenge and say the vast majority of people that I would consider to be successful um, did not go to college, or they did very shitty in college, and they sure as hell very rarely are actually doing what they went to college to do.
For. Yep.
So it's it's tough, and it's tough, and I think that's where it comes down to us taking responsibility for our families,
Yep.
and not just our kids, but like our nieces and our nephews and stuff like that, and educating and sharing our experiences that are different from what everything else is going to be pushing.
Mhm.
And then when there is that person, that 18-year-old kid who's bold enough to say, "Hey, you know what? I think not going that normal route is for me. I do have other interests I'd like to pursue." Supporting the hell out of them
Oh,
and getting
100%.
them in the right place. And I had told my kids, I'm like, look, you decide you want to go to school. I've told friends for years, if my kids come to me and they're like, hey, daddy, I got an idea, a business idea. This is something I would like to try. I would take the college money and fund that vision they have to get started, knowing that they may and likely will lose all of it
Mhm.
and tank. But guess what? They've got a freaking lifetime to recover from it.
Yeah,
And they have a
facts.
lifetime to go to college and do that whole deal. And the lessons they're going to learn chasing something that they're passionate about, I think is worth the risk every time.
Mhm.
Because if you're chasing something you're passionate about and you figure out a way to monetize it and build a life around something that you're passionate about, not a job that you got to go to. I couldn't think of anything better for my kids.
Mhm. I agree.
But I don't feel like that's what everybody says. "Well, I want my kids to be happy." But are we resourcing them to actually be happy?
Mhm.
It's
Like
crazy.
one thing. Go ahead.
No, please.
One thing that get into the science, I don't know about for women, but for men, the brain isn't fully developed until you're 25. You
Oh, I
know,
believe that for
and
me.
and so like how you expect, like when I was 18, 19, I was an adult. Now I'm 32. I'm like, yo, 18, 19, you're an old kid. You're not even a young
Right.
adult, you're an old kid. So how can you expect someone to know exactly what they want when they've been going to school for, being taught, X, Y, Z in school? You have no life experience,
Yeah.
so it's very important to like either figure out what you want, but like give yourself grace and give yourself time. And like society puts all this pressure on you to make a decision.
Yeah.
People pressure you to get in the army or the navy, or people pressure you to go to college, or you have to have it all figured out. And that's where mental health comes into play, because especially for men, you're the breadwinner, or supposed to be.
Right. Yeah.
And you're supposed to have it all figured out. You're supposed to be the money maker. And next thing you know, you're 22, 23, and you have, life not even figured out at all. And that's completely fine though,
Yeah.
and just, I love what you said about educating our kids, because as, a future parent, and you can attest to this, I'm sure, is, we have a responsibility, we have a duty to teach our kids, to give them a better life, where our ceiling is their floor, you
Yeah.
know, and they can go out, they're going to take everything that we've taught, but we got to be an example for them, not just
Yep.
as parents, but as the community. If we can impact our household, we can impact, our friends, we can impact our friends, we can impact, our community, then our city, then our state. And that's how but it starts with us.
100%, man. 100%. I think there's a lot of power in that. And it's, it's people just got to be comfortable to push back. And the thing that's funny is I look at all the bullshit stuff people make noise about and want to argue about and make sure their voices are heard over. And then things that really matter and really important, nobody will say anything against because that's kind of against the norm. I'm like, you gotta be
Yeah.
freaking kidding me right now. But that's a whole nother 10-day podcast. Look, man, I want to honor your time. I appreciate you so much taking time out of your day to jump on here with us. What is the best way, Luke, for people to connect with you, find out more about you, find out about your courses and your coaching network and stuff?
Yeah, so I would say on my two social media platforms, I'm very active is Facebook and Instagram. So Instagram is Long Money Luke, and Long Money Luke. That Luke is LUC. Yep, right there. And then on Facebook, it's Lucas Longmire. And on
Perfect.
Facebook, it's Blue Check. There's a lot of fake pages of me. So make sure you go to the right one and it's right, spelled right or whatever, because there's 10, 20, 30 fake pages on both.
See, now y'all know Luke is the real deal because he's got that blue check. All right, man. Luke, I appreciate you, man. Are you going to be in Dallas this week?
Yes, I will. I'll be over there.
All right. Well, I'll see you Friday at Fly In Friday, man. Appreciate you
Sounds
so
good.
much. Thank you so much for joining us. Y'all hit up my guy Luke. Follow his stuff. Great content, great motivation. I mean, this guy is a giver. He is a giver, and he just wants to help people and change the way you think about, finances and life and the spiritual side as well. And man, I hope you love the day down in Miami, and I'm gonna see you in Texas on Friday.
Sounds good. I appreciate you for having me on here and everybody that viewed this. I appreciate you for tuning in. Love you guys.
All right, see you, brother.
See ya.